أجمعين أما بعد. Dear brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. This is the video number 7. As we already realized 6 videos, this is the 7th video. And as we said before, the aim of this sharing video is to provide some kind of background for Muslims who may be interested in living in Japan for the future, and also to provide some maybe useful information for Muslims who are living in Japan. As you may know, the number of Muslims is very little, and Muslims are living in various communities inside Japan, and some of us right now we are living in Fukuoka. That's why we are providing information related to Muslim and Islam in Fukuoka. However, there is a little bit problem. It's not a small problem, but a big problem among the community here in Fukuoka. In reality, I mean, there are some people that will look at things, in a superficial way, but they will not really look at things, things in a deep way. So we have some experiences we want to share with you. So today, the video number 7 is to maybe ask a question that all of you try to ask. What is, if for example Muslims are living in one small community, why do we have sometimes misunderstanding? If these misunderstandings are natural for human beings, why, for example, people can't discuss and find out some common ground and live together? So in the case of Fukuoka, where we are doing the research right now, you may ask questions. Why, for example, if there is a misunderstanding, or there are conflicts, or problems, or why don't people, sit down and try to find out the problems and try to have a better life, especially as we are minority as Muslims? Why can't we, try to provide a better ground for especially the newcomers, or those who may hope being in Japan for the coming, or especially in Fukuoka for the coming years? The question can be easily, asked by this way. But if, for example, you don't have any place, you don't have any center, or for example, you are doing your activity anywhere, but you don't have a center like a masjid, things are easily managed. Yeah, but the problem usually comes when, for example, you have a mosque. Because when you have a mosque is exactly when you see any building around you. If you see any building, you may think about the owner. You may think about who is managing the building, and who are the main actors, in using the building, and etc. You will find out many actors. So in the case of An-Nur Islamic Center, for example, Fukuoka, of course, if you ask the question as I asked before in a very easy way, why, for example, people cannot sit together and find out solutions and try to, to have a kind of a beautiful society and community, and people feel very comfortable, in this kind of beautiful city, Fukuoka. So An-Nur Islamic Center or Fukuoka Masjid, of course, there are many actors inside. But I may divide the main actors dealing with Fukuoka Masjid, maybe I may divide them into 3 or 4 categories. You may right now, and we are targeting about the management, about those who are thinking deeply about An-Nur Islamic Center. So first we have, for example, now the Imam. If you go to Fukuoka Masjid, you will see somebody there, and he acts and like this. Maybe you may have a different view of Imam based on your own country, but based on the existing Imam in An-Nur Islamic Center is a person who is, how to say right now, who is it's not about managing, but who is trying to, to deal with the whole masjid. You may think as a manager. If, for example, you are thinking of any business entity or any business how to say, cooperation or whatever. So he acts like this. But actually, in the beginning, things were not in that way. But before, we had a different committee, and they were somehow actives. But with the time, the committees and those different divisions within the organization, with the time, and are getting weaker and weaker. And finally, you can see, like, for example, right now there is a imam. By the way, for example, the do not confuse about the way you look at imam in your own country. For example, in my case, and probably Indonesian, Malaysian, people go together and pray, and very easily, usually a very simple person who can easily, welcome everybody and no other stuff to make people fight. But for example, in the case of Nur Islamic Center, the imam, is getting huge money just to do that, even though, there is something, did not go to the right way. But yeah, for the time being, the imam, for example, is getting, some people they say is getting 350,000 yen, some people they say 400,000 yen, I don't know, less or more. But he's getting huge money for just been there, and has been appointed by one embassy, as maybe we said before. And right now, somehow, of course, it's not about the easy definition you may give to imam, but it's somebody who is who is getting huge salary. Of course, some of us, we try to to address the community or the masjid in a way that things will be suitable for all of us, so that people can easily contribute, people can come inside. But in his case, it's somebody who is, for example, defending his salary. So sometimes there is a contradiction about how we can handle a good community. And as I said before, actually, in the beginning, the masjid had the face as a center for all Muslims together. And we are all together, and we are all equal, and no differences, and nobody has a privilege compared to others. That's how the project started. But with the time, you can see that the mosque started to change, to take another angle, that a center controlled by X and Y and Z, and you can see that the community doesn't have a power to lead the organization the way it may be beneficial for the community. And this need a debate, this need a discussion, there needs a very open discussion, so that we can come up with a certain way that all of us will contribute for the betterment of the community. But in the end, right now, the masjid is losing its international face, as we used to have it before, to be some a center under some very few people's hands. So yeah, this is to say that it's not easy to answer that kind of question, why we can't sit together, and this because there are different approach to the masjid. For example, as we said before, we have an imam, for example, that who feels that, for example, this is the source of his life with his family. So if some of us, we ask him, no, for example, try to do something else. Yeah, he may feel like we are challenging his authority, and probably we are challenging his job. So sometimes he may fire some people, as you have seen before. That sometimes there are some kind of approach that I don't know. Maybe for his culture he understands, but some of us we don't really understand why, for example, he's using certain stuff that's not really appropriate. But yeah, we can now understand that, for example, if somebody has a salary or is getting money from somewhere just because he's praying, and it's very simple things to do. It's a very simple thing to do, so you can understand why sometimes do we have some kind of violence in masjid, or some kind of shouting and stuff like that. Okay, the second thing is that when we discuss about imam, not only imam, behind imam, we have some, you can say, especially in the beginning, some business families that they approached the masjid, but somehow you could see that they wanted to be influential. So these, how to say, business families are playing a great role, but behind, you cannot see them, but they are playing a great role to shape somehow the organization by showing up that they are the supporter, for example, the economic supporter, just, I mean, superficially, not superficially, but ideally, no reality. But they somehow project some kind of, how to say, ideas that they are no sponsor, but they are the grassroots, you know, they back up the system. So one of the ideologies supported by the business families who are behind An-Nur Islamic Center is to not have this kind of changing system. Yeah, this is very important point, that if some of us, we face problems when we discuss about changing committee and community, we change the president and others in a very open way so that we can challenge the competitive society and community in Fukuoka, where many other social and cultural organizations are very active. So if our organization is not flexible enough and capable, you know, to attract especially the young Muslims who may be here, so we may not have members, or we may not have really active members. So these business families who are behind, we have personally, during my research, I found like one of them clearly, how to say, support this non-change committee, and he wants the person wants, sorry to say he or she, I don't want to put he or she, but the person wants, you know, this system doesn't like changing committee stuff, and maybe the other one also prefers the masjid to be led by this way, that no changing committee. I mean, for example, they will tell to others that, for example, they are not part of the organization and they don't like, but actually this is the system people are using today, this strategy used by the hypocrites in the past. We don't say that they are hypocrite, no. They are using this kind of strategy, that sometimes when they are with other people, they will say we are X, but actually they are supporting the system to be like this. I don't know finally, because we are human beings, we keep changing, you know, situation time to time, but in the beginning, until the middle of this An-Nur Islamic Center's management, the business families supported this idea of not changing committee members. And somehow, if some of us in the beginning and the middle, we pushed a lot to bring a change to the community, they appear and they clearly supported, sometimes directly or indirectly, the existing system, that we don't need a change. I don't know, maybe some people, they have some different backgrounds. I don't know, maybe some people, they still see like Indonesia should be led by Suharto's system. Maybe some people, they may think like, okay, we may follow this, how to say, the Mubarak system, some very controlling system. But the funny thing, sometimes you see, it's really confusion somehow. But in fact, you know, those families are supporting the existing system. So if, for example, you see some of us are struggling to talk a lot and to make pressure so that we'll have flexibility and we'll have, you know, some kind of balance among communities, but no succeed because there are some people who are back up the existing system, but sometimes if they feel like they lose a bit the influence, they may sometimes change their faces. But this is the existing system. So these two business families are supporting and the system, the existing. That's why, for example, it will be very hard in this city, An-Nur Islamic Center, to have a very wonderful organization as every Muslim wishes. I don't have enough time to discuss about other actors. We may have other actors. Other actors, in short, we may have those members who are there to follow whatever, who follow the wings. I mean, this is not only the case of An-Nur Islamic Center, but this is the case in many Muslim countries. We find some people are there. So anybody who may have a power, even just a power of selling peanuts and chicken or whatever, So they will look at him as a powerful man or powerful woman. They will follow and easily to be manipulated. And these members are majority. Many Muslims will go to a Nur Islamic Center, but they are looked at and they see who may have some little bit power, and they will try to follow and to obey, regardless whether he's right or not, or he's crushing people or not. No, they feel like he is or she is right only because he has power, and I don't know, even power in the air. So this is a big problem we are facing today. So I don't know when this kind of situation may change. This is the the third main actor in An-Nur Islamic Center. I repeat, as a conclusion, we have the Imam, who is dealing with almost everything right now, but before we used to have different committees. It's a weekend and become weak and weaker. And then we have some business families behind who like the situation to be like this, maybe because they feel like, okay, their influence will be unchangeable, as they will have the same imaginary power they have in their mind. And then number three, we have the people who are just following the game, and some people they call maybe marionettes, but some people they may say that imma Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, the hadith in Sahih, لا تكن إمّاع إن أحسن الناس أحسنت وإن أساءوا أسأت ولكن وطنوا أنفسكم. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam advised us to not be such kind of people are following whatever. We have to have dignity, we have to have personality, we have to have shakhsiyya, so, and we have to have some kind of clear goal for our life within our association and etc. Because this is the behavior of Muslim who doesn't have how to say personality. Somehow he may be dangerous against the ummah because he can be used anytime. And especially as people, those who are looking for power, or who just feel like anybody who is imam or anybody who is this is right without checking whether he's right or not. Those people are playing a bad role in many Muslim communities. That's why now it's very hard somehow those who have a personalities who may lead our countries in a very good way, very difficult for them to lead the countries, because as far as, for example, you could have some little power, some money, you can invite some people, have lunch and dinners and stuff, you can shut their mouth and they will never say anything. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته.